if you relate to this father, not in that way, of course, but in terms of, trying to make his daughter's dream come true, for instance, or, being close to his daughter.
Yeah. Really, that's what the movie is ultimately about, is, his realization about how much he feels for her, and what that means to him. And
picking Josh because this tall, handsome white male, was important for the role. So can you talk maybe a little?
I like for you guys to see people in a new light, let's say like I hire Joaquin and then make him athletic in Signs, or a Mel and then make him a priest in that same movie. So in different ways you reinvent him. Josh walked in and I was like, wow, this is that guy. This is the guy. You're gonna fall in love with him. He's super handsome. You get why he could do people, and then he could do this other side where it's kind of, there's this light, but it's actually going towards darkness. Does that make sense? Where he's like, there's a joy in getting away with things. And when we started talking, he has a kind of mischievousness about him too that was easy to bring out.
Do you feel like that as a filmmaker sometimes?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, that's true, right? A mischievousness about like, hey, let's all root for the serial killer.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was joking with Warner Brothers and I said, this movie's kind of finally a serial killer you can root for.
Interesting that it's a realistic film, more than other films that you've made, that there is no fantasy element in it. And but then it's at the same time kind of an outrageous premise, like a concert where they're gonna trap a serial killer. So do you like that, and do you feel that is it easy to do that nowadays? Because people sometimes get, pick on little things. Oh, this is not realistic. This wouldn't happen in real life. So.
And for me, this story was a real life monster. Like that's why I think people are so interested in serial killers, is they're real and they exist with us in our society, but they're monsters. And so it's kind of our deepest fears. I don't need to make up this monster. This monster exists in our world. That your neighbor or my brother or husband or somebody could be this, and that they've just been lying to us the whole time, is absolutely frightening.
This whole concert, it's a trap.
I know you're very selective, let's say, with the work you do, but if the main, appeal for you was Knight himself.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a fan of his for a long time, so I always wanted to work with him. I think he's one of the few directors who are able to work in an original way in a larger market. There are a few, but it's becoming rarer and rarer for filmmakers to be able to work like he does. And I love original films. I've always been attracted to it, more so than like IP-based films or sequels and things like that. I really like seeing new stories on screen. I think it's good for the business, and good for me, because no one, the character is so light and dark and so extreme, and that doesn't come along very often. So I felt, it was a no-brainer for me.
I can only imagine, how was your reaction reading, because it's such an outrageous, premise, and the characters also.
That's the fun of it for me, was to create an antagonist who is your central character, and you need to kind of fall for him. You need to kind of love him. When I first read it, I was like, will this work in an organic way? We don't want to bait the audience into thinking like, oh, he's one thing, but then he's something else. Really, we come right out and say it. That's why it's in the preview. And then the audience has to go along with it or not anyway. And I think what's fun is that you end up going against your own brain. You're drawn in by something else.
Wondering if I know you're a father, but it's just that, if you relate to at least the character's wish, because I imagine you have to also attach yourself to some characteristics of the character, right?
Yeah, 100%. But I found that the more research I did on psychopathy, like the more I recognized that there are lots and lots of people in high-powered positions in our world that kind of would fall into that scale of psychopathy, and lots of characters in film who will just do anything to get what they want. We find that heroic, but it's crazy, right? It's scary.
The whole tour thing, being Brazil, you're probably going to other places. How is that fun for you, or?
It is. I mean, I've never been to Brazil before, so it's frustrating because we're doing interviews the whole time, and I don't really get to see that much. But we've been able to go to a few restaurants, eat some good food, and kind of get a little bit of what Sao Paulo is about. But it also just makes me want to come back, and actually have a vacation here and get to know it much better.